Now we're going to UV the front door and the back door. We're also going to duplicate the back door for the second door opening. Let's begin with the front door first. Let's select it and also select the door handle. Then isolate select. We're going to assign the UV grid texture material. And also combine the door and the handle as a single object. Select them both, hold Shift, right click hold and choose combine. Then we're going to quickly modify the pivot point to be at a bottom corner vertex. Now apply automatic unwrap. And before we arrange all the pieces, set textile density to the current value we have chosen, which is 1. I'm going to move these shells closer together and begin arranging them so it makes sense. I'm going to place the glass inside the door frame and scale it down a bit. It's okay if you scale some of these shells so they occupy and fit within a certain area of the UV layout. Slight scaling is not going to be noticeable. And we need to maximize our UV space as much as we can. And then for the door handle, there's going to be quite a few pieces that will overlap on top of each other, especially the faces or the shells that are in the back of the door handle. We're going to overlap them so they are on top of the front door handle UV shell. And instead of using stack shells, I'm going to do it manually by selecting the UVs, then hold V, and then left click hold and drag to snap those UVs on top of the existing UVs. This will snap very nicely to each corner, just like it would as if you were snapping vertices. Let's continue to arrange these shells, and we're going to overlap this shell. We're going to use the same method. Hold V, left click hold and drag for each UV to snap to an existing UV shell UVs. And then finish this up and move the door handle shells into position right about here. For the door frame, we have a few identical shells, so we're going to select them and stack them. I'm going to keep the shells that are vertical as they are, the shells that are on each side of the door frame, and the shells that are on top and the bottom of the inner door frame, I'm going to rotate 90 degrees. And also stack identical shells. We have one more to do, stack them and move them into position. And now we have our front door completed. I'm going to leave these shells where they are for now, and I will position them off to the side with the rest of our UV layout when we are done with the back door. Bring back everything into view, Ctrl 1, and then select the back door and the door handle. But we're not going to combine the door and the door handle just yet. Isolate select. Assign UV grid texture material. Now I'm going to select the door first and apply automatic unwrap. Set textile density and move the UVs out of the way. Let's arrange the shells. The main door is going to be scaled slightly so it fits inside the door frame. And then position the shells that are on each side of the door next to the door frame, making sure that we rotate and orient each shell so it's displaying numbers correctly. And then we're going to stack these two shells on top of each other. The back door and door frame is done. Now let's UV the doorknob. We're going to use a slightly different technique than what we have been using. So select the mesh and we're going to plane a project on Y. I have a custom tool shell for Y projection, but you can find this under UV, planar, and under options, choose project from, Y axis, and click project. Then let's switch over to face component mode, and we're going to select the front faces of the doorknob where the key would go into. So I'm going to hold tab, paint select these front faces, and then project on the x-axis. This will project and separate the shell. I'm going to set textile density to 1 and move it off to the side. Then switch over to edge component mode, and we're going to select the edges where we want to make a cut and create the texture seam on the doorknob. So I'm going to select these edges on the bottom, but making sure to deselect the two edges in the front and the two edges in the back. And we also want to select this edge ring. Then inside the UV editor, cut along the selected edges. This will now separate the doorknob and the back plate into their own UV shells. Select the faces for only the doorknob, and under unfold, choose to unfold along U or V. Let's try along U first. Select U and click on unfold along. And that didn't work. Undo. And now let's try along V. Select V and click on unfold along. That looks better, but still not ideal. We do have some stretching, but it is better. Due to how small this UV shell is, if we set textile density now, it will be difficult to tell where there is stretching. So we need to fix it first before we set the textile density. Let's select the UVs that are stretched out, these front doorknob UVs, and then choose to unfold along V. And that didn't work. Now let's try U. And that looks good. That looks way better. And actually, we're gonna leave this as is. There might be some slight distortion going on, but due to how small this UV shell is going to be, the player is not gonna notice. And we're not gonna worry too much about it. So definitely try to unfold along U and V and see which one gives you better results. And now we can set our textile density. We have the backplate UVs to finish. For the front cylindrical faces of the backplate, I'm going to select them all and project on X. Set textile density to this, move it off to the side. And for the side cylindrical faces, I'm going to project on Y axis again, then select an edge on the bottom where I want to make the cut. Then inside UV editor, cut along the selected edge. We can now unfold along U or V. U did not give us a good result, so we're going to unfold along V. Set textile density, and now let's organize the doorknob UVs better. Then let's move it down next to the back door. Our doorknob UVs and the back door UVs are now done. Before duplicating the back door, let's arrange it within our UV layout. Select the back door, the door handle, and the front door. Then move its UVs within our workable UV layout. Make sure to select everything in the scene so you can see the UVs. And then we'll position them right here at the top. Let's also delete history on the front door and the back door. Now we're going to take the back door frame and the door and duplicate it over for the second back door. I'm going to go back to Maya Classic workspace so we can see better, and also switch to shaded view. I'm going to hold X to snap to the grid and make sure it's properly positioned into the building. That looks good. Next, select the doorknob and duplicate it. We're going to move it over to the other side of the door. This is why we did not want to combine the door and the doorknob together. Now I want to position this a bit more accurately, so let's go to orthographic viewport. I'm going to quickly switch over to right view, and we need to also change view along axes so we can see the back doors more clearly. So I'm going to switch over to -X and move the doorknob right about there. I think that's good enough. And now UVs for the front door and the back door are done. The back door UVs will share texture space for the door frame, the door, and the doorknob. But we might separate the door UVs themselves to have their own UV space. If we decide to add some unique texture detail, they will have to have their own UV space. So we might have them separated when we begin arranging the final layout. But for right now, we'll leave them as is.